Here we are again with some songwriting analysis, aka a geek out, because that's exactly what I'm doing. It's unlikely that anyone watching this doesn't know who Taylor Swift is. Even if you don't listen to her music, you've definitely heard her name between her numerous hits and media controversies. At only 31 years old, Taylor Swift has released 9 studio albums and has released 199 songs in total. 138 of those reached the top 100, 29 of them reaching the top 10, and 7 of them were number 1. But which one of those is the best? Well, I'm here to share with you all what I think. Hi everyone, and welcome to Music Theories, where I explain and analyze all topics related to music. Be sure to subscribe for more content if you're interested in music, music history, music analysis, or history in general. Please keep in mind, I don't actually believe in superlatives or the best of anything. I'm just kind of playing around, and this video is totally 100% opinion-based and fun. That said, let me know in the comments which Taylor Swift song you think is the best. I know for a fact that I'm not alone in my thoughts on this one. Beginning her career in 2006 with the release of her self-titled album, Taylor Swift, her 4th studio album, Red, is thought to be the bridge between Taylor's country roots and her pop transition. While some criticized this album for its wide sonic spectrum, others praised Swift for her experimentation and her willingness to step outside of what was expected of her. Included on the album Red, track number 5 to be exact, is a song that is often considered Taylor's magnum opus, although it was never released as a single, All Too Well. She, as well as co-writer Liz Rose, have gone on record saying this song was the most difficult one to write, as well as the most emotional. Liz Rose was the co-writer on Taylor's debut album and the subsequent, Fearless, but hadn't been included on any projects after 2008. Swift called her for help on All Too Well as a one-off collaboration. This piece was originally 10 minutes, and Liz was called in to help with the filtration process, which brought it down to 5 minutes and 28 seconds. I personally believe that this is one of the best examples of Taylor's lyric writing abilities, which, if you've been subbed for some time here, you know that I'm a sucker for. But being Music Theories, I want to further explore what gives this song the reputation that it has, and what are the factors playing into the emotional quality it holds, starting with the music. On an album that strived to stray from the country sound as much as possible, this song is often described as country pop or country rock. However, I would argue that it sort of falls comfortably in what I would describe as folk rock, derivative of many of the folk revival artists of the 1960s, such as the Byrds, Bob Dylan, Simon and Garfunkel, or even Joni Mitchell. This song stays very much in the lines musically. Written in C major and played around 95 BPM, the progression stays at a very steady 1-5-6-4. Which I think is effective in establishing a familiarity or even feelings of nostalgia. Especially with the warm acoustic guitar at the beginning, paired with a very clean and diatonic electric guitar riff that sort of mimics the melody movement. We've got a verse, pre-chorus, chorus form, with a harmonic shift in the pre-chorus that keeps us from getting tired of the repeating progression. The first verse introduces us to the safe and singable melody, which never strays from the diatonic scale and rarely moves to the unstable tones within that scale, except for one important part that I'll get to in a minute. The melody mostly moves stepwise, beginning and ending with the tonic, again feeling really safe and familiar, except for the short leaps here and there. It's not until verse 2 that the rest of the instrumentation comes in, and we have a really basic but full-sounding rhythm section. Guitar, electric bass, acoustic piano, drums, and backing vocals. The pre-chorus has the harmonic shift that I spoke about a second ago, which encompasses what's called a plagal cadence.
And you can approach a key center from either side, like a plagal cadence is very reassuring, it's like hugging the key. And
here, the progression builds by moving from the 4 to the 5 to the 4 back to the 1. This section is also made up of 6 measures, rather than the standard 8 measures of the previous sections. The chorus of the song jumps up to begin on the 5th. Toggling between do and sol for a second before repeating do, re, mi 3 times. Before it moves to the most tense note in the scale, T, in the refrain line, bringing us that comfortable resolution just where we wanted it. Around 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the section that I'm going to be referring to as the bridge kicks in, and the electric guitar takes center stage to prepare for the emotional climax of the song. Taylor intentionally highlights what she calls her favorite line in the song by soaring up an octave and harps on the high tonic note, mirroring the emotional repetition within the relationship. We're gifted with about a minute of this raw intensity before the song comes back down to the warm acoustic guitar and the clean riff on electric that we heard in the beginning. In what we might believe to be the end of the song, due to pop conditioning, around 4 minutes, the bass picks back up on the steady eighth notes, and we're made aware that it's not over just yet. The band comes back in, and we get one more chorus with a tag included. We have the perfect blend of sentimental, cry into your pillow folk breakup song, and shout at the top of your lungs in your car rock breakup anthem. So while I wouldn't say that this song is musically unremarkable, I think it's safe to say that in a song like this, like many other folk rock or country songs, the lyrics do the heavy lifting. As any other lyric geek will appreciate, this song doesn't repeat sections. Each section tells a new part of the story, and I freaking love when songwriters do this, because you just know that they had so much to say that they could barely fit it into the confines of a pop song, hence why the original version was 10 minutes long. We're given lots of detailed information throughout the song through visual imagery paired with metaphors and similes. I feel like this is sort of Taylor's secret sauce. I might even dare to say that it reminds me of some of the beautiful descriptive language heard in many pieces by Leonard Cohen. Verse 1, which is the part with just guitar and the electric riff, sets up what Brad Nelson at Pitchfork refers to as the Chekhov's gun of the song. I walked through the door with you, the air was cold, but something about it felt like home somehow, and I left my scarf there at your sister's house, and you've still got it in your drawer even now. Chekhov's gun being the scarf she left at his sister's house. This verse doesn't tell us a ton about the story or the characters, except that whoever the you is in the story still keeps this scarf hidden away. Oh, your sweet disposition and my wide-eyed gaze, we're singing in the car getting lost upstate. Autumn leaves falling down like pieces into place, and I can picture it after all these days. This is really where she begins to paint the picture for us. We know that he's sweet and she's wide-eyed, implying that she's maybe young and a bit naive. It's also speculated that this is a reference to Jake Gyllenhaal because his favorite band, The Temper Trap, has a song called Sweet Disposition. Fans widely believe that this song is about Jake Gyllenhaal. Here's a perfect example of imagery paired with symbolism. Autumn leaves falling down like pieces into place. The last line of each of these verses informs us that these things happened some time ago, long enough that she needs to explicitly state that she can still remember these things vividly, which is overall the theme of this song. This is where the pre-chorus comes in, talking more about the magic of the time and how she's still not over it. And I know it's long gone and that magic's not here no more, and I might be okay, but I'm not fine at all. And then the first chorus comes in, again with some pretty emotional imagery about that beginning honeymoon phase of a relationship. Because there we are again on that little town street. You almost ran the red because you were looking over at me. Wind in my hair, I was there. And like I said, this song doesn't repeat any sections, except for what I'll refer to as the refrain line, "I remember it all too well." This is also the only place we see the use of the seventh note in the scale, which is the most tense of them all. Verse 3 describes that initial part of a relationship getting serious, where you meet and spend time with the mother, see the embarrassing childhood photos, and learn about each other's past. Photo album on the counter, your cheeks were turning red, you used to be a little kid with glasses in a twin-size bed, and your mother's telling stories about you on the t-ball team. You told me about your past, thinking your future was me. This last line gives us quite a bit of information into the status of the relationship. This person she was with was sharing vulnerable pieces of his life. They were spending time with his mother, doing things you'd really only do with somebody you're quite serious about and maybe plan on spending your life with. And I know it's long gone and there was nothing else I could do, and I forget about you long enough to forget why I needed to. This pre-chorus lets us know, through speculation, that he was most likely the one to have ended the relationship, which makes it that much harder for the protagonist to move on. The second line describes what many, many people have felt about relationships that didn't end well. As time goes on, you tend to remember only the good parts of that relationship, which makes you kind of question why it even ended. She flashes back again in the chorus to the whimsy and the sort of giddiness of new love. Because there we are again in the middle of the night. We're dancing around the kitchen in the refrigerator light. Down the stairs, I was there. I remember it all too well. This chorus transitions right into what I'm calling the bridge, even though it's really just another chorus, but not only does it change musically. Here, Swift begins to speculate for the first time what went wrong in the relationship. This informs us that she wasn't entirely sure why the relationship went sour or what the problem was in the end. But now we know for sure that he was the one to end it. The refrain line repeats, and we feel the pain in her vocal performance as well. Maybe we got lost in translation, maybe I asked for too much, but maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up. Running scared, I was there, I remember it all too well. Notice that the song was in past tense until now. This alternate chorus sets up a switch to present tense. Although the relationship was over some time ago, as we've been reminded many times, he is presently still contacting her. This makes it even harder for her to move on and gives us context as to why the protagonist is sort of spiraling through the best memories of their time together. This is also the emotional climax of the song and contains what Swift refers to as her favorite line. And you call me up again just to break me like a promise, so casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm a crumpled up piece of paper lying here, 'cause I remember it all too well. I just want to be a little extra nerdy here and point out why this part rolls off the tongue so well when you sing it. Notice the alliteration occurring on the stressed syllables in this verse. And you call me up again just to break me like a promise. So casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm a crumpled up piece of paper lying here, 'cause I remember it all too well. It almost makes it feel like there's an internal rhyme, especially in the first couplet, but there isn't. She then puts emphasis on the word all 3 times in a row. I think this is intentional to also really emphasize the amount of detail that she can recall from their time together. This next section is in the present tense, and we're made aware of the current status between the two. The first 3 lines indicate that the protagonist is still recovering from the blow of the breakup, and also contains a wonderful example of assonance with the long I sound. Time won't fly, it's like I'm paralyzed by it. I'd like to be my old self again, but I'm still trying to find it. I'm not sure if I'm the only one that feels like this really enhances the lines, both rhythmically and melodically. After plaid shirt days and nights when you made me your own, now you mail back my things and I walk home alone. This couplet compares those magic fall days with what she has now, and also sets us up for the last part of the bridge, which reintroduces the Chekhov's gun mentioned earlier, the scarf, which has since gained a sort of fan club of its own. But you keep my old scarf from that very first week because it reminds you of innocence and it smells like me. You can't get rid of it because you remember it all too well. And we're ushered back into the last chorus, which adds a bit of a jab towards the ex and then refreshes the image described earlier. Because there we are again when I loved you so, back before you lost the one real thing you've ever known. It was rare, I was there, I remember it all too well. Wind in my hair, you were there, you remember it all. Down the stairs, you were there, you remember it all. It was rare, I was there, I remember it all too well. I think the authenticity in these lyrics is more so than any other Swift song I've heard, prior to Folklore anyway. But even compared to the two newest albums, this song captures that raw, vulnerable, tender, pure pain that many have felt just after breaking up with their first real love. It plays out almost like a movie. As she sings each section, you can imagine it perfectly and connect it back to similar feelings and experiences of your own. All Too Well is passionate, it's spontaneous, wistful, and tragic all at once, just like love is. What is your favorite Taylor Swift song? Do you find that this one is relatable, heartbreaking, overrated? I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments, and please feel free to add any songs you'd like me to analyze below as well. Thank you so much for watching.